All right, everybody, welcome to Fantasy Football Live with the Fantasy Sports Boss. It's Monday, Baltimore Ravens against the New Orleans Saints tonight. I need a Monday miracle. I posted it on the community board. I'm up 7.5 points with Lamar Jackson going against an opponent who has Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull that off, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. Certainly Lamar Jackson with 240-plus games already this season. So, Monday, funny things happen on Mondays. So I'm hoping for the best with Lamar Jackson, but certainly I'm expecting the worst with this one particular league. That's been very frustrating for me this season. But I won in my other league, so I'm currently sitting at 7-2 in one league, most likely headed toward 4-5 in the other. Now, before we go any further, make sure you hit that subscribe, hit that notification button if you haven't done so already. Going to go through the injury report as I do every Monday. Also discuss some other things. Now, obviously, the number one topic of the day is Josh Allen's elbow. So not a lot of clarity on this from Sean McDermott when he met with the media today. But, if you watched the game yesterday, at the end of the game, he grabbed his elbow, as he was trying to lead the Bills to at least a late field goal to tie the game against the Jets. But he was in the subsequent play able to throw it down the field to Gabe Davis that fell incomplete with Sauce Gardner in coverage. But hey, Manny, how you doing? But clearly was in discomfort, and McDermott did say today, and Adam Schefter reported as well, that it is a UCL injury in his elbow. Now, anybody who plays fantasy baseball knows anytime you talk about a pitcher with a UCL, that means surgery, out for the season. Usually takes a full season to return, and even longer than that. When a pitcher gets back on the mound, it takes probably almost 2 full years to regain their pass velocity and their feel for pitcher's control and all that stuff. Now, with a quarterback, Matthew Stafford, apparently going back to even last season, has been playing with some sort of UCL injury in his elbow. But, he hasn't played well this year. He's played very poorly. The Rams have been just god-awful this season, and maybe the UCL injury in Stafford's elbow is causing it. So this is something that we really need to be concerned about if you're a Josh Allen owner. I do give him the benefit of the doubt in terms of playing. I think Allen will play this week. I don't think he'll miss games, but will it impact him in his fastball, throwing the ball down the field? I think it will. When you're talking about the UCL, you're talking about the structure of the elbow, and considering the amount of torque and the velocity and the power that any quarterback, especially one as powerful as Josh Allen is, that's going to be an issue. And we saw he played poorly against the Jets. He played poorly the week before as well. 2 straight games of sub 25 fantasy points, which, for Allen is not good by any means. So do I think he'll miss this week? No. If you had to put a gun to my head, I would say he's definitely going to play. He's going to at least give it a shot. But McDermott did hedge his bets a little bit when he met with the media. There is some concern. And considering he's the number one guy, the number one quarterback in fantasy football, this is not a small thing. And so goes Josh Allen with Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis, who somebody called the East Coast version of Mike Williams due to his extreme fluctuations in performance. Gabe Davis would be just a bench guy if Josh Allen were to miss games. Stephon Diggs would go from the high-end wide receiver one he is to, in my opinion, a high-end wide receiver two. With Allen missing time and Case Keenum under center, so I definitely would be worried about this. So, if somebody's drafted Swift and Adams 1 and 2, would you be looking to deal them or wait it out? I think Andrews you're fine with. I think Mark Andrews will be fine. DeAndre Swift I'm concerned about. I think if he has a good game this week, you want to get out from under this. The latest from Dan Campbell today is that they're going to give him more work going forward, at least, in this game coming up. But, he looked pretty good. He showed good explosion. 40-something yards receiving. He showed the speed that we all are seduced by when it comes to DeAndre Swift. And certainly he's a very, very capable runner, even more capable receiver. But Jamal Williams is not going anywhere. Jamal Williams is the goal line back. Jamal Williams will get the majority of carries, so DeAndre Swift can't be anything more than a running back two in all leagues, and that's certainly not what we signed up for when it came to drafts this season. The other injury news of the day, and this is more positive, is that Aaron Jones looks like he'll be able to go in Week 10 against the Cowboys. He said, x-rays were negative on the ankle. Even though he was in a walking boot, Jones himself said he could have gone back into the game. Now, the Green Bay medical staff is known as one of the most conservative in the NFL. All right. Matthew Berry talked about this today in his show. We see, even Christian Watson did not have a concussion, but they pulled him out of the game just to be cautious, and he's going to be okay for week 10 as well. So, yes, it was annoying. And as an Aaron Jones owner in one of my leagues, staring back at 6.5 fantasy points against the Detroit Lions of all teams was absolute, BS, and put me, in a bad spot tonight in that one league I've been telling you about. But the bigger picture here is that Jones will be okay. So, you still hold on to A.J. Dillon. Jones certainly every year misses games with injury. I don't think this will be his last injury scare of the season. He's a very hard-nosed player who likes to mix it up, takes hits, doesn't always go out of bounds, puts himself out there, susceptible to getting injured. But overall, it looks like Jones is going to be okay. Major sigh of relief there, going forward for week 10. Now, whether you feel any sort of confidence in this Green Bay offense, I know I don't. And Aaron Rodgers was his typical, defiant, idiotic self when meeting with the media. I mean, the guy is such a bore. He's just so arrogant. It's just ridiculous. I can't stand him. He's just not a likable person by any means. Nico Collins still has a groin injury, so Lovie Smith was not committing to having Collins available in week 10. And, the thought is that Brandon Cooks will return. So we have to watch that to see if he gets back on the practice field. But, even if you own stock in Brandon Cooks, I still can't believe they didn't trade him. I mean, just a wasted opportunity for Cooks and for the Texans to get something for him. Ezekiel Elliott did not practice today due to the knee injury. Not the best start. He's got the MCL going on in his knee, and anybody that owns Tony Pollard is certainly interested in what goes on, how this unfolds the rest of the week. Now, again, it's only Monday. We have a long week ahead of us. Elliott is tough as nails. I'll always give him that. But, just like Khalil Herbert in Chicago, just like, Benjamin in Arizona, the backup here, Tony Pollard, is just so much better than the starter, Ezekiel Elliott, that it's very frustrating from a fantasy football perspective if you own the backup like Tony Pollard. Odell Beckham Jr., this is going to get decided in the next couple of days. He mentioned the Giants. He mentioned the Green Bay Packers. There's almost no chance in hell he's going to the Green Bay Packers, folks. So you can forget about that. Dallas, I think that's where he's going to end up. You can cross out the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are a sinking ship. He's not going to go to the Rams. And I think there's some hurt feelings there that he wasn't signed right away, after the Super Bowl. I think Beckham was a little bit insulted there. So I think Cowboys are the favorite. I think the Giants, I think he's intrigued with going back to the Giants now that Dave Gettleman is gone and kind of righting the wrongs from his first stint with the team. And certainly Joe Shane, the new GM for the Giants, is receptive to it. And Beckham also knows if he goes to the Giants, he would be the unquestioned top receiver, wide receiver one in this offense. And he would probably carry his most fantasy football value with the Giants. Now, Dallas is very run heavy. This is not Dallas from a few years ago when Dak Prescott was slinging it all over the place. They're still, they're very run heavy this season. So, as the second wideout behind CeeDee Lamb, the potent, fantasy football numbers just won't be there. But, he'd have an opportunity to probably score some more touchdowns with Dallas. So that's how you have to look at it there. If Beckham is sitting out on your league's waiver wire, he shouldn't be. You should run out and pick him up right now before that change, before he does sign with a team. Deebo Samuel practiced with his hamstring. It looks like Deebo's going to get ready to return. The question is, where is he in this offense? I think he's the fourth option. I really do. I think Brandon Ayuk is the clear number one now. George Kittle's number two. Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield is going to get the majority of looks now. Deebo's probably not even going to carry the ball much other than maybe 2 or 3 times a game with McCaffrey in town. The McCaffrey arrival was just terrible news for Deebo Samuel's value. But I told you guys earlier in the season not to bother with him. I said don't draft him. There's a lot of potential problems in the way. That was one I got right. Certainly I got it wrong with DeAndre Swift, but I got it right with Deebo Samuel. And another guy I got it right with. How about James Mitchell? I told you guys to pick him up, the Detroit Lions tight end. Even though he caught only 2 passes, one of them went for a touchdown. I think he's going to get more work as we go along. So if you need a tight end, look at James Mitchell. PJ Walker will start Thursday against the Atlanta Falcons. Not good news for DJ Moore. Sam Darnold is back. I think the best quarterback for DJ Moore's fantasy value would be Sam Darnold. They had a decent thing going at the start of last season. We know Baker Mayfield has no chemistry with DJ Moore. PJ Walker showed some acumen to connect with Moore, but last week was just so ugly that I'm actually surprised that Steve Wilkes is going back to him. But I think Sam Darnold would be the best option. I think Sam Darnold will get a look eventually, maybe just one last-ditch effort to show that he has what it takes to be a starter in the NFL. But DJ Moore, it's been a lost season for him. That one, awesome notwithstanding. David Njoku says he's playing this week against the Miami Dolphins with his ankle injury. You know, Njoku was a bit of a forgotten guy. He's been out for a few weeks now, but I think Njoku has more than proven himself this week. And listen, reading the tea leaves over the summer, you know, when the Browns re-signed him, it signaled that they were ready to feature him in the passing game, and they have done that. While he's not the top guy, you know, Amari Cooper is. You know, Njoku has done a good job before he got hurt. He did a good job before he got hurt. He was a top 10 fantasy tight end, and with Deshaun Watson now getting close to returning, Njoku and Cooper will see a boost in value. Absolutely, 100%. All right, so the other big news of the day is that Frank Reich was fired. I should have led with this as well with the other main topics today, but Jeff Saturday has been installed as a new coach. Now, no word yet on what's going to go on at the quarterback position. Is it going to be Ellinger again? God, that was just so disgusting. How pathetic, how piss poor that offense was. And you know, honestly, the Atlanta Falcons. I'm thinking Matt Ryan. The Indianapolis Colts have been an absolute joke the entire season. Anybody who owns Michael Pittman can attest to that. It's been just brutal. Pittman had 3 catches, complete non-factor. You know, I'm curious to see if they do go back to Matt Ryan. I don't think they will. That whole thing about the bonus, the $17 million, some kind of bonus in his contract if he plays and gets injured. So it appears that Indianapolis will not put Matt Ryan out there for the rest of the season because they're trying to protect the team's bank account, which to me is complete bullshit because now you're not trying. Clearly you're tanking. I know they want CJ Stroud, the quarterback for Ohio State, who in my opinion is the number 1 guy. You know, I think it's complete bullshit to the fan base, to the remaining players on this team who are trying to play hard. It's just pathetic. Yeah, Carlo, I agree with you. Josh Palmer is a better option than Michael Pittman right now. Gabe, don't worry about Josh Jacobs. He'll be fine. Listen, it's been a rough couple of weeks, but he's getting all the work. I think he'll be just fine. No need to panic. Do not sell low on him. Anyway, getting back to Indianapolis, you know, Nick Foles, you know, they can't go back to Ellinger. There's just no way. It was so bad. But again, deep down, is this what Jim Irsay wants? You know, Irsay wants to get a young quarterback in here, a young franchise quarterback. Is he going to go for the Alabama kid, CJ Stroud? You know, and CJ Stroud hasn't exactly been lighting it up this season, by the way. And I'm going to start ramping up my college football prospect videos. I'm going to start putting those out over the next couple of weeks. And my college NFL draft guide will come out sometime in late January. So make sure you look for that. I will sell it here on the site as well. Colts are tanking, no doubt. Maybe Los Angeles Rams are too. I don't think the Rams are, although I think that McVay, this could be his last season there. I think he's fed up. He's got a plush, high-paying broadcasting job waiting for him. You know, he's got the hot-ass wife at home that, you know, of course he should spend more time at home with her. My God. He's on his way out. And the Rams have just been pathetic. And honestly, you know, does Matthew Stafford come back next season? I don't even think that's a given, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think the Colts are tanking for sure. And like I said, talking about Jim Irsay, you know, they tried Phillip Rivers. Now they're trying Matt Ryan. I think he's just fed up with these older, aging, retread veteran quarterbacks. It's just not getting it done anymore. I traded Lazard and Pollard for Mike Williams. Oof, I don't know why I did it, but I'm hoping the returns blows up. Yeah, that was a bad trade, Gabe. And listen, I'm the biggest Allen Lazard fan, as you guys all know. After week 1, I told you all to buy low on him, and he's been fantastic. He's been good every game. Romeo Dobbs, that was another big one today. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. That looked ugly from the moment it happened. So, you know, listen, it's going to be a while for Dobbs before he returns, and you're probably looking at the fantasy football playoffs. And by that point, I don't think he's really going to be a factor. So, But Alan Lazard, he's been balling out every week. He's almost a touchdown a game. He doesn't have like the insane target share, but he's leading the Packers on a weekly basis in targets, and he's the main red zone guy. So I've been very happy with Alan Lazard. I think anybody who owns him would be happy as well. Would you trade Fields for Tua rest of season? That's a tough one. Now, listen, I love both of these guys. I've been going crazy about both of them. Fields has been going ballistic. I think I would trade for Tua just because Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle give him two just insane weapons, and Tua has been just as good as any quarterback in fantasy over the last month. I think he's got a safer floor. I think Fields has more of a ceiling because of the rushing yardage, but I like Tua's setup better. Also, would you trade Herbert for Fields? Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you can just get Justin Fields for Herbert. Now, as much as I like Herbert, I think you do that trade for sure. How about this? Clyde Edwards-Helaire, only 17% of the snaps. That game was absolutely ridiculous. Pat Mahomes throwing over 60 times, and I have the joy of playing him next week in that league that's pissing me off, along with Travis Kelce. And I'm in that position next week. So in the league that I'm doing really good in, I own Travis Kelce. In the league that I'm shitting the bed in, I'm going against him. So when situations like that materialize, you got to root for the player that's on your better fantasy team. So I'm going to root for Kelce just because I have him on the team that's actually doing well. Joe Mixon, Lamar will show up. What time is everybody like? Yeah, thank you for Slim. Yeah, hit that subscribe and the like button. I really appreciate it, guys. Yeah, I'm just hoping Lamar Jackson just balls out tonight, man. I really just need this win. I'm hoping Kamara and Olave get bottled up. I've had no luck with this one league this year, so I'm just not expecting it, but I'm hoping Lamar does his thing. Field schedule is brutal after week 2. Yeah, it does get rough. There's no doubt about it. He's got the Lions this week. He's gonna go ballistic. We all know that, but you're right, Carlo. It does get a little rough. Besides OBJ, who's the top wide receiver waiver priority, half PPR? That's hard. I mean, listen, there's not a lot of guys left at this point. If Wan'Dale Robinson is out there, I certainly would look at Wan'Dale Robinson. Macaulay Hardman, if he's out there, Kadarius Toney caught 2 meaningless passes in that game. I've been saying all along he's not a guy that I would bother targeting with. I'm going to have a stream tomorrow discussing the waiver wire, so make sure you tune in for that. We need a fantasy sportsbook league. Yes, we'll do that, LJ. Yes, 100%. So what I'll do is I'll set up a league next year, and we will make that happen. I'll do a 12-team league, and I'll come up with some way to make it fair for people who wanna get in on this. So not sure if we'll just do it for fun or I don't know, maybe like a year of draft guides for free from me. I don't know what we could do as far as a prize, but I'm definitely interested in doing that as well. So a lot of things, anybody that joined the stream yesterday, what generated a decent discussion, and I've been thinking about it more and more today, especially with the struggles in that one league that I'm in, how going conservative, and I talked about this yesterday, going conservative in leagues this year really kind of screwed a lot of people over. So do you think OBJ gets with a team this week? I mean, if not this week, next week for sure. And what I mean by that is the people that really went on the limb and ignored Geno Smith and drafted Tyler Lockett, drafted DK Metcalf at value, really made out. Those who ignored Tua Tagovailoa going to Miami and drafted Tyreek Hill in the second freaking round. I mean, my God, what a value. And Jalen Waddle in, what was that, round 5 or 6, really benefited from that as well. Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, guys who we were all kind of running away from, especially Derrick Henry, considering his age. You could even throw in Christian McCaffrey, although he wound up going a top 2 pick. But there were a lot of people, myself included, who swore off him after 10 games played over the last 2 seasons. And quite frankly, I don't blame anybody who had that feeling. How you doing, Erwin? I don't blame anybody who had trepidation when it came to Christian McCaffrey, but the people who thought outside the box are winning their leagues. So, if you went the conservative route, like I did with Leonard Fournette, that certainly didn't work out. Michael Pittman, even Jerry Jeudy. Like Jerry Jeudy hasn't been as great. Every year we think Jerry Jeudy's going to be a slam dunk wide receiver one, and he's been more like a low end wide receiver one, more of a high end wide receiver two. He's never. I don't think he's had an 80 catch season. Somebody can correct me. I don't think he has an 80 catch season. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but even Jeudy, Jerry Jeudy, none of these guys have really broken through. So I was kind of iffy about drafting Dameon Pierce. They definitely lucked out. Houston really needs him. Yeah, Dameon Pierce. I remember doing that video over the summer. It was sometime in late August where I did the Dameon Pierce video. And what I was worried about with him is that he was not a full-time guy in Florida. Did I say Jerry Jeudy, guys, when I was talking about? I meant to talk about CeeDee Lamb. I'm tired. This daylight savings time thing kicked my ass last night. I woke up so early this morning, so I haven't adjusted. I was talking about CeeDee Lamb. He's never been a wide receiver one yet, even though we keep projecting him to be one. And even this season, he really hasn't been great. Everyone in fantasy wrote off Geno in Seattle. Listen, Geno Smith, and I'm from New York, guys, he was god-awful here. He was so bad with the Jets, it wasn't even funny. Like, he wasn't ready. And I think the Jets thrust him into a really difficult situation. He was immature. He got his face punched in by Ike and Kompali because he owed him money. He went to the Giants. Impossible situation, having to make that start against the Raiders to end Eli Manning's consecutive game streak. That wasn't fair to Geno Smith. But listen, he's gotten the last laugh. He's been playing great all season. You keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, and when he throws that pick six, on Sunday, you thought, oh, maybe this is it. He's going to turn back to a pumpkin. No, he continues to excel, and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf have benefited, and those who drafted those guys at a cheaper cost are really benefiting as well. Both my running backs are Jacobs and Pierce. I'm hoping for another boom week. Listen, those are two big good backs to have. Those guys have both paid off in spades for sure. All right, would you drop Deion Jackson for Jeff Wilson? Oh, yes, 100%. The Deion Jackson thing didn't work out. I think Jonathan Taylor probably will miss another game. No need to rush him now, especially if this team is trying to tank. And that's another thing. Jesus, I mean, I drafted Taylor. And it's funny, the league I'm 7-2 in, I drafted Taylor number 1 overall, and I'm winning in spite of him because of Ramondre Stevenson, who I got at a decent rate. He's saved my bacon for sure. I'm trying to take Dameon Pierce for A.J. Brown. Yeah, Carlo, I would look to do that. I have concerns about Dameon Pierce holding up the rest of the season because, again, he was a part-time player in Florida, never had this kind of workload. He's already gone past his previous high during his time with the Florida Gators. So I'm leery about him in December when those hits really start to pile up. So that's something that I think, is concerning. Wow. So you guys know how I put out that poll about how I had the 7.5 point lead. I have Lamar going tonight. My opponent's got Kamara and Olave. So there's 68% of you think with Lamar anything's possible. 32% said I'm toast. I'm surprised. I thought more of you would say that I'm toast. I don't know if you guys are being nice, but the one thing with Lamar, you get a quarterback and a running back in one player. So that's what I'm hoping will happen. But again, Alvin Kamara has been such a pain in the ass to go up against with Andy Dalton at quarterback. He's, Andy Dalton is as close as you're going to get to a Drew Brees type player, peppering the running backs out of the backfield. Than you would with Jameis Winston for sure. So I'm hoping for the best. Wish me luck tonight on this one, but again, I don't think it's going to go my way. So, so we'll see about that. So, so I'm curious. Tomorrow's waiver wire Tuesday, so I'm going to do a quick stream on that one tomorrow. So make sure you tune in for that. And then really Wednesday really ramps up with the injury report. What's going to happen with Josh Allen? We have a really god awful game on Thursday. And here's what I was thinking about, too. I know Jeff Bezos is making a play now for the Washington Commanders. If he does get the Commanders, what happens with this Amazon deal? Because isn't that a conflict of interest to be an NFL owner and having the licensing deal for the Thursday night package? I'm curious how they work that out with Bezos if he does get the Commanders. And, luckily there's a salary cap in the NFL because I think Bezos would go all Steve Cohen Major League Baseball with all the money and resources he has. But listen, give it to the Commanders though. I mean, they've been in every game this season. They almost knocked off the Vikings. They played hard. Taylor Heineke gives you everything he has. This is not an overly talented team, but they play hard for Ron Rivera, so that does speak well for Rivera. Hey, who can I trade Garrett Wilson and James Conner for? Or when you're not going to get much for Conner, Garrett Wilson has some value, but I think you're just better off holding on to him. Elijah Moore is not going to be a thing. How about that situation? I mean, that's just getting more bizarre by the week. I mean, no targets again for Elijah Moore. I just don't understand it. James Conner, you're not going to get anything. Conner had a 70+ snap share, which I was surprised to see. He made it through the game okay. He was okay. He wasn't awful, but James Conner might be the single most boring player to own in all of fantasy football. He really is. Listen, he's been hurt a lot. He had cancer in college. Luckily he was able to beat that. You wonder what kind of a toll that took on his body. So, all right. So Jarvis Landry is out tonight. So that's not good news for me. When it comes to Olave, he's probably going to get peppered with targets. Now, Gus Edwards is out tonight as well. I'm not surprised about Gus Edwards. I knew he was going to be, I figured he was going to be out tonight. So it's going to be Kenyon Drake, with some Justice Hill sprinkled in. Jarvis Landry. I don't know what the trainers are doing in New Orleans, but first Michael Thomas and now Jarvis Landry just can't get on the field as well. Do they have blanket coverage on Olave? That's the one thing. So, maybe they will double team him and make anybody else, make anybody else on that New Orleans offense beat him. I really don't know, but I was hoping Landry would play because that would have, in my opinion, given Andy Dalton another option to throw to other than, Olave and Kamara, who I'm going to be going up against tonight. I haven't seen anything about Mark Andrews yet. Oh, he was already ruled out. That's right. So Mark Andrews was already ruled out. So Isaiah Likely will be a thing tonight, I think. So Andrews, Gus Edwards, Tylan Wallace, Josh Burns, Ben Cleveland, and David Ojabo are out for the Ravens. So, also our good friend Taysom Hill. I love watching Taysom Hill. I still say he's a set it and forget it at tight end. Taysom Hill, you're just not going to find anybody else that can throw the ball, catch it, and run it at the tight end position. The numbers haven't exactly flowed like I was hoping after that big week 1 and then when he went nuts in week 4. But he had a 30% plus snap share last week, which was the highest number we've seen from Hill. And with no Jarvis Landry, no Michael Thomas, I think he's going to be north of 30% again in this game. I think the Packers need to rebuild. Rodgers is washed, and I really don't like the guy because how he is. But yeah, he's a real asshole. He's a complete dick, Aaron Rodgers. He really is. With all this psychedelic crap with the drugs and, he's just a complete nut job head case. Listen, not going to take anything away from his talent. If you were to construct a quarterback in a lab, it would be Aaron Rodgers. The quick release, the ability to run, the cannon for an arm, uncanny accuracy. He literally does it all. I'm never going to take that away from him, but he's got a lousy ass attitude. His body language is awful, and say what you want. Like, look at Kirk Cousins. He's not the most talented guy in the world, but he's a leader on that team. And he's tough and he doesn't throw anybody under the bus, or look at Taylor Heineke getting his ass beat behind an awful Washington line every week. He's always in there slinging it. These are the guys I'd rather go to war with than Aaron Rodgers, who would jump in the foxhole and then not allow anybody else to jump in with him. I hope Lamar Jackson has a huge game for me tonight in fantasy. Yeah, Shane, I'm right there with you, man. I hope so. It's one of those games where I just don't even want to watch it because I can't live and die with every play with my opponent having Kamara and Olave. Fantasy football has really stressed me out this year. I told you guys, I posted yesterday how I literally shut it off for like a half hour just because I was getting so annoyed. Aaron Jones got injured. My team in the one league was just completely shit in the bed. Nothing was going right. And so I just needed to shut it off because I was just driving me nuts. Likely or Taysom Hill tonight, which is your tight end one. Oh, I would go Likely over Hill. As much of a Taysom Hill apologist as I am, I think Isaiah Likely is going to have a lot of catches tonight. And also, listen, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Deshaun Jackson caught like a 60-yard touchdown pass. He's a perfect fit with Lamar Jackson. Listen, Jackson still has the wheels. He can get down the field. So it wouldn't surprise me in the least if he caught a big one from Lamar Jackson. 10 man PPR, 7-2. Nice job. Should I trade Justin Fields, DeAndre Swift, and T. Higgins for Justin Jefferson? Other running backs are Chubb, Walker, Etienne. Wow, you're stacked at running back. Holy crap. All three of those guys have balled out. Other wide receivers, Amon-Ra, A.J. Brown. I have Lamar Jackson. Jesus, God, this team is stacked. I mean, for a 10-team league, that's awesome. Justin Fields, Swift. You know what? That's a lot to give up, man. But you have Lamar. You know, he's on a bye, though, next week. I'm in that predicament as well. I have Lamar in both of my leagues, and I have Fields as the backup in both of those leagues. I double-dipped on both of these guys. So, I mean, make sure you covered there. That's a lot to give up, man. I like T. Higgins, too. Justin Jefferson's so good. So you would have Jefferson, Amon-Ra, and A.J. Brown. And Higgins is coming up on a bye. You know what? I would do it because Jefferson's bye is done. Amon-Ra's bye is done. A.J. Brown's bye is done. Higgins has one coming up. So, yeah, you know what? I would do it. Listen, you have Lamar Jackson. You don't need Fields. DeAndre Swift, we don't know what's going to happen there. And your other three running backs are completely stacked. So that's a great team, man. I see why you're 7-2. Can we talk about how perfect the Vikings are for TJ Hockenson? Yeah, listen, that surprised me because, you know, Hockenson was only in town there for a few days. He learned the playbook quickly. Certainly, you know, Irv Smith couldn't get the job done there. Hawkinson's been great. You know, there's a lot of competition with Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen might be the one that gets squeezed here. Justin Jefferson, you know, you're welcome, Sway. No problem. Justin Jefferson is going to draw defensive attention away from TJ Hockenson, who can get up the seam. He's got underrated speed. He's got very good hands. He can get open. So I do like this move for TJ Hockenson. Also, Lamar, Fields, rest of season, it's possible Fields will be better. Listen, anything is possible. I love Lamar Jackson. What I will say is this. Top 5 fantasy quarterbacks right now, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields. Like, he's in that top 4 or 5 for sure. So, without a doubt. And again, guys, this is why it's so crucial to get that dual threat quarterback. I drafted Lamar and Fields in both of my leagues because I wanted to have both of the, you know, Fields' upside. You know, I figured it would be a little while to get going because of his new coaching staff, a very rough offensive line. Yeah, listen, Tua and Burrow right behind too, but they're not the runners, LJ, that the other guys that I mentioned. Oh, and Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes top 5, of course, as well. So I think Fields is number 5. I really do. I think Tua is probably 6 and Burrow is 7. Or you could put Burrow. I think with Fields 5, Tua 6, or Burrow 7, I think you can interchange them and put them in any order you want. I think the top 4 is pretty established. But Justin Fields absolutely is the very least a top 7 quarterback the rest of the way. Also, would you trade Jacobs for Debo? No, I would not do that. I do not want anything to do with Debo Samuel the rest of the season. I told you I think he's 4th on the target tree for Jimmy Garoppolo. So I would not do that deal. No way, no how. I'm not a Debo fan. I wasn't a Debo fan last year either. His touchdown percentage per touch was not sustainable. So, you know, what we're seeing this year from him is not a surprise for me at all. Tyreek or JJ rest of season. Oh man, I mean, honestly, you really can't go wrong with either one. They're both not scoring touchdowns either. I think they only have 2. Well, JJ's got 3. Tyreek, I think they both have 3. Rest of season, if it's God, if I had to choose one, I guess I would go JJ. I would go JJ. Like, if my house was dependent on it, I would go JJ. But, like, by a razor-thin margin. You know, rest of season, I have Kupp 1, JJ 2, and probably Tyreek 3. You know, the numbers are just silly for Tyreek Hill. Like, completely silly. Nobody could have saw this coming. You know, last year with Kansas City put a career-high reception total. This year he's gonna blow way past that. And Miami's found their franchise quarterback. You know, the defense is abysmal, so they're in shootouts every week. So from a fantasy perspective, this is great. And I think there's just no other way to say it other than he has been as smash mouth value as a second round pick. Evans for Waddle. Yeah, I would do that. I don't like this Tampa Bay offense. The sheer volume of passes is there, but they're just not hitting pay dirt. The average per pass is just way down for Tom Brady. Mike Evans is really beat up. Now, I give him credit for always being out there, but he's not healthy. He's not right. He looks a step slow to me. I don't like what I'm seeing out of Mike Evans. I feel like not that the Colts fired the head coach and defensive coaches, they're going to start playing Matt Ryan again. I don't think so, Erwin. I really don't. They want to collapse. There's that money incentive thing. And I didn't know about this until today. Somebody had mentioned it today that I guess Matt Ryan gets something like a $17 million bonus if he plays and gets injured. I don't know how that was put into his contract or why that was put into his contract, but apparently that's why they have benched Ryan. I don't think he sees the field the rest of the season. Sam Ehlinger, for better or for worse, it's just ugly. One last one. Lamar, DeAndre Swift, and T. Higgins. DeAndre, you mean from the Chargers. For DeAndre Hopkins and Waddle. Lamar, DeAndre. DeAndre Swift. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. I'm sorry, man. And T. Higgins for Hopkins and Waddle. Oh, God. I don't think so. No, I wouldn't do that. I think Swift has a chance to have a big finish. Lamar's Lamar, and I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to be like a target whore the rest of the season. I don't think I would do that. I like T. Higgins more than most. T. Higgins has been solid. He hasn't exactly taken off with Jamar Chase out, so there might be some validity to Higgins being like the Juju Smith-Schuster in the Pittsburgh Steelers when Antonio Brown was there. That might be happening. Higgins was a high second round draft pick. He had a lot of talent coming out of Clemson, and he's shown spurts of being a low end wide receiver one. So I wouldn't knock Higgins too much, but I thought at least to this point we would see a little bit more from T. Higgins. It just really hasn't been there yet. But overall, I think he's going to be just fine. And this Cincinnati Bengals offense, they love to throw the football. Every one of these guys, Tyler Boyd, Hayden Hurst, they've all been fantasy useful for sure. So, I think it'll be all right. So tonight, Saints, Ravens, I'm hoping for the best from Lamar Jackson. I really want to see him get back on track. It looked like in September when he had those back-to-back 40 plus fantasy games, it looked like he was going to absolutely smash fantasy football this season. But he's definitely hit a rut. Bryce Young to Houston, CJ Stroud to Indy or Carolina. Yeah, those two guys will end up in those three locales. Sam Hartman of Wake Forest is rising. I don't think he's in the class of these two guys, but Bryce Young, I don't like his frame. He's a little on the smaller side. I do think CJ Stroud is the number one guy for me. He's got the NFL body. He's got all the tools that you could ask for a potential franchise quarterback. So whoever ends up at that top pick, I think is going to get Stroud. I need 8 points from Taysom Hill tonight. You know what? I think you're going to get it, big dog. I think the 8 is very much within the realm of possibility. I'll be thinking about you tonight. But anyway, guys, that's it for today. I'm going to get myself going here, do some videos so I can post them tomorrow. So look, tomorrow morning, I'll have a Crisis Point video up in the morning talking about the Miami Dolphins backfield situation. Look for that. And there'll be other stuff being put on tomorrow as well, plus another live stream. So make sure you tune in for that. So guys, have a good night. Enjoy Monday Night Football. We will talk tomorrow. Take care, everybody.